So we're standing here in the Boiler Yard district of Camp North End. Camp North End as a whole is 76 acres, the equivalent of 14 square blocks of uptown, and rich with Charlotte history, American history, dating back to 1924. If you look at an old map of Charlotte, you would see that out here was just nothing but farmlands, green field, and a railroad line leading into the center city. So in 1924, Ford Motor Company built this giant Model T production factory. They manufactured over 300,000 Model Ts and Model As here in the 20s until the Great Depression, where car sales fell off. The Ford Motor Company kept an office and showroom in the front, but they shuttered the assembly line in the back of house. This building is 240,000 square feet, just massive. It's 800 feet long, 300 feet across, so a football field across, and just wide open. It's historically significant because it was designed by Albert Kahn, who's the famous architect from Detroit. And he really pioneered industrial architecture with open concepts and natural light, and that was pretty cutting edge at the time. So this building just celebrated its 100th birthday last year. And over here you'll see we have the water tower and the boiler house, which steam powered the entire Model T operation inside the building. So these were the first things out here back in 1924. In 1941, the U.S. Army actually purchased these buildings from Ford Motor Company and immediately set to work building another 1 million square feet of warehouse over the next 2 years. So all ramping up for World War II, this became the quartermaster depot for the Charlotte region. So a quartermaster depot is where essentially it's a regional supply hub where they send basic supplies to training camps across the Southeast. So anyone who served in World War II and went to basic training in Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, or Georgia, all of their supplies came through this site. Uniforms, rations, bars of soap, typewriters, canteens, everything came into this one central hub and was then redistributed out. There were over 2,500 civilians working on site during World War II, most of them women like Rosie the Riveter, and 80 Army officers were here as well. The Army was here from World War II through the Cold War when they manufactured missile bodies. That's when they called it Camp Charlotte Army Missile Plant Camp. So that's a nod to the history there in our name, Camp North End being the part of town that we're in. So we're here at the Mount District, which is the highest elevation on site. This was the general's office where General Woodward with the U.S. Army was stationed while it was a quartermaster depot. He oversaw all the operations on site. And the building next to it is the bunkhouse. This is where 80 Army officers lived when it was a quartermaster depot. It used to be twice as long. They demolished it back at some point in the history. And over here, this was the original Army kitchen and cafeteria. This is where everybody would come on, get lunch, hang out. And today, these spaces are our project office, co-working space and used bookshop, and plant shop, bakery, lots of locally owned small businesses, which is really how we've gotten the project jump-started. After Model Ts and missiles, the history, I would say, shifts gears. Atco Properties, based in New York, saw an opportunity to create a really special signature destination project for the city of Charlotte. So Atco acquired the site in 2016, and we got to work in 2017, bringing it to life, writing the next chapter of its history, and we got started right here in the Boiler Yard. So early in 2017, we did all kinds of music and events down here, always being really intentional about the mix of people that we worked with to hopefully set a tone for the rest of the project and the future of the project, that it would be a space that is truly representative of our city. And our hope was that you could walk through and really see a true cross-section of the city of Charlotte. So we're now standing in the historic Model T factory. Everything you see in this part of the building was back of house. The assembly line started way down there, and piece by piece assembled a vehicle, and a completed car rolled off the line here, went out to the train tracks to be shipped off But some fun facts in this space. So you might notice the floor is unique. It's end grain wood blocks. They're only about an inch thick, but all hand cut and hand laid, held together with tension. You know, there's no glue, no nails. They're just all laid flat and puzzle pieced in. So they put these wood blocks down because one, wood would absorb sound from all the heavy machinery. And also we've been told if munitions dropped on the concrete floor underneath, they might spark or ignite, but the wood would cushion anything that fell. So twofold purpose there with the wood blocks. Another fun fact in here, you'll notice these turquoise boxes that are elevated. Those are actually original restrooms that were off the floor to keep space for the assembly lines. They wanted to be as efficient as possible. So, and then workers didn't have to go far if they needed a break. You'll also notice that the ceiling is sort of a sawtooth design. All the vertical parts of it were skylights back in the day. The US Army took out the glass and put in metal so that spy planes couldn't see in. But eventually, when we restore this building, we plan to put back some of the glass. We actually have a sample, but you'll see what it used to look like and what it will look like again. So up here, we're now in the Keswick district of camp. And something to note up here, these buildings were built by the Army. These were some of the last buildings they were constructing. And when they were complete, they were a 1/4 mile long, end to end, one continuous hallway down the entire thing. You'll notice that today there's a road going through the middle. We put that there in the hope to break up just the sheer industrial scale of the site, make it more human scale, more human centered. So we cut a road through by taking out the walls, punching out the roof, and adding storefronts along the side. All right, so we're over here standing in front of the Gamma Goat building, and we call it the Gamma Goat building because during the Cold War, they built vehicles called Gamma Goats, which you can see right here in this glass box. The Gamma Goat predated the Humvee, so the Humvee improved on this design, and they called it a Gamma Goat because Gamma was the nickname of the guy who designed it, and Goat because it could go over all kinds of terrain because it was a 6-wheel vehicle. So that's not a trailer back there. It was actually a 6-wheel vehicle. This particular one was used as an ambulance, and we actually found it on Craigslist in Oregon. And it cost more to ship it here than to buy it, but someone was using it on their farm in Oregon until we bought it. This building was the last one that the Army was constructing, and halfway through construction, the Army received word from the top that steel was a precious resource and should be conserved. So they stopped their construction, which was using steel and concrete, and they finished the building in timber. So the northern half of the building, north of the street, is finished out in timber, inside, outside, and everything on the southern half is all steel. You'll also notice these train tracks. So the Army used these to distribute supplies from the Quartermaster Depot. We're up here on a platform where they would bring supplies straight out of the building, put it onto the train. The awnings above, again, protected against spy planes seeing what was getting loaded on trains. Currently, the train tracks are inactive. You can see we've just let it kind of go wild. We do some wildflower seeds out there every so often, and it just kind of is a fun passive space. Eventually, this could be funded as the Red Line, which has been talked about as a commuter line from the Lake Norman suburbs to Uptown. And Camp North End would likely have a stop somewhere along this part of the stretch.